there, moguls. It's me, Mashall Sylver, your personal millionaire maker. Getting very excited about my brand new show. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm going to broadcast live to you. In the first hour of the broadcast, I'm going to give you content, information for better sex, more money, emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual power. I'll also invite some of my cool multi-millionaire and billionaire friends onto the show to give you more direction, more advice, more strategies and gambits for having it all. The second hour is what I'm most excited about. It's when I get a chance to chat with you. Yes, you. Where you can call in, talk to me, ask me questions. And if you say the secret word of the day, you could win $5,000 cash. At the very least, if you're the most interesting call of the day, you could also win 10 ounces of freshly minted Mashall Sylver 999 Fine Silver. All of that and more. Brand new Mercedes-Benz sedan or SUV up for grabs. My personal Rolls-Royce Phantom up for grabs. All the knowledge to get everything you want and so much more. All you got to do is log in to the show to get information about its release coming up. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, coming to you live from the bunker right here at Studio Money. I'm Mashall Sylver, your personal millionaire maker.
Let me bring in our hypnotist, Mashall Sylver.
It's Mashall Sylver, ladies and gentlemen, the world's fastest hypnotist.
Hey, friends, welcome home. Glad you're with me. Mashall Sylver Live, where we are with you, generally speaking, 5 days a week, completely live. That's what makes this very different. You never know what's going to happen. Anything can come up and often does. And especially with as mouthy as I am, you can bet there's going to be something you're going to say, I can't believe he just said that. Today's show is very special to me because today's show is with a brother from another mother. And a lot of people just say that. It's kind of an affectionate thing. This is pretty much true. This person and I, we've grown up together. I met him when I was 23, doing my very first educational seminar ever. And he was 14 years old. And so we've known each other this entire time. When AJ Puedan and I met, he was at an event with his mom. His mom was a realtor, and she had come to one of my seminars. And he came up afterward and said, I want to be you. And I thought, what a cute thing for a 14-year-old guy to say to a 23-year-old guy, I want to be you. Except he was dead serious. And not only did he want to be me, he's the kind of a person that if he sets his mind on something, it's done. So he asked me, how much I during the lecture mentioned take a rich guy to lunch or dinner. And he called me up and he said, hey, I've saved the money that I need to take you to dinner. Where would you like to go? I was kind of brushing him off. I picked one of my more expensive favorite restaurants, and I said, I'd like to go there. I said, I got to warn you before we go. You better have at least $150. It's a lot of money at that restaurant. Okay. And I could tell his brain was turning. How do I make sure I make this happen? We go to lunch, and what do I order? I order the lobster because it's a free lunch. And what does he order? I don't know. Maybe ice water. He didn't order much. And I was kind of testing him. No, that's not true. I was totally testing him. And later on, I find out, no, he couldn't afford to buy my lobster and also buy his meal, except he was that committed to having lunch with me. He said, I really want to be you. What would it take for you to train me? And so I threw out a number that I thought was too big, that would make him go away. And he said, okay. And I get a call about 2 months later. He said, I've done everything I can. I saved all my lunch money. I took on extra jobs. I did all these other things. And I've got the money for you to train me. Okay, well, now I'm obligated to train him. I'm thinking not much will come from this. And over the course of the next few years, doing shows, doing educational events, and needless to say, this man is a rock star. His name's AJ Puedan. He and I have been friends and associates for 38 years. He is a master hypnotist. He is also one of those people that, like I said earlier in this conversation, if he sets his mind to do something, it's done. He can kill you in any number of ways. He's shown me. He is a marksman. He is an outdoorsist. He does everything, literally everything. He owns schools over in the Philippines. He is just a really kind soul. He has written over 10,000 lectures, presentations for other speakers throughout the course of his career, and has utilized the technology that he learned from me initially when he was 14 years old at an amazing level. He's the only person that I currently share the stage with on Next Level that goes on every November, first week of November. And it's very exciting for me to introduce to you with a nice big Mashall Sylver Live welcome in the chat. Say hello to my great friend and little brother, AJ Puedan. Welcome to the show, AJ.
Hello, hello, hello. Oh my gosh, this is so awesome. Boy, this is a lifetime coming. I thought this was, I think this was really cool to talk to you.
Yeah, me too, brother. Where are you right now?
I'm in Las Vegas.
I could tell by the background.
Yes. Yes.
Very cool. So again, good to see you. Obviously, you and I have shared a lifetime together.
Oh my gosh, I was thinking about what are we going to talk about today? And there is just, I mean, there's a lifetime of things to talk about. I mean, we could go through the whole war stories of events. We could talk about hypnosis. We could talk business. We can talk, growth. What's the real behind the scenes, things. And yeah, there's a lot that we could talk about.
One of the things I want to talk about, because it's unique to you, and I want to get to your expertise.
Yeah.
Obviously, you change a lot of lives. You do the hypnosis side of the things that I don't do as much anymore. And you stay very focused on training hypnotists. You stay very focused on training uh, hypnotherapists and people in the healing arts. You have very intimate, very powerful programs that you do, not only there in Las Vegas, also obviously all around the world. I want to ask you just a couple questions before we get started. Um, you don't know when you meet somebody what things are going to be from that point forward. And I'm wondering, what were you thinking? Because you have a different perspective of when we met 38, 37, and 38 years ago.
Yeah.
What was your thought when you were in that seminar room, which was the very first public seminar I had ever done? What were you thinking when you were watching that
Well,
going?
let me give some context to that too. I was 14 years old. I was on antidepressants. I was suicidal. I voted last chair clarinet, most quiet last chair clarinet in the band. And I was in a place where, I'm still 14, but it's still real to me that insignificance, like no one could see me, right? And my mom said, "Hey, this guy came into my real estate office and he ate fire. Do you want to go see him?" And that's really the only reason why I went to the event. I just wanted to see someone eat fire. I didn't know it was a full day event. I didn't know it was a sales event. I didn't sell water beds. I didn't sell insurance. I didn't sell what was the other thing? Real estate. Yeah, in that room. So I learned something completely different because sales is communication, right? And so not selling those things, I learned to sell something else. I learned how to sell me to me, right? And up to that point, all I had to get, I was a teenage magician as well. That's why I like the fire eating. I wanted attention. I want people to see me, and the only attention I knew how to get was negative attention, right? The more I get depressed, the more serious I got, then I would get that attention. And I saw something completely different. I saw a man that was getting positive attention, that was changing lives, that was making a big impact. And it's like, okay, I want that kind of attention. That's the kind of attention I want. Now, I remember this part, and let's see if I get choked up when I say this. Part of what the depression at that time was not being seen, being insignificant. And I was walking outside of that room at the end of the day, having a great event. And you said, "AJ, stop. He goes, "I'll see you later this week." And at that moment, you saw me. And that was the big moment where it was like going from a different event, just attending a great event to, oh, he saw me, right? And that shifted everything. And so that I wanted to just continue that process however I needed to do it, whether it meant to, take the information that I've gotten so far, which was a sales event, And how I raised the money to continue training with you was I got a sales job, knowing that no wage job was ever going to pay me enough. I had to do something on commission that could give me a potential for something more. Right. And so what was going through my head was significance. I wanted to be significant.
You are extremely in tune. That's one of the things that I admire about you is that you are massively empathetic, which makes you really good as a hypnotherapist and as a hypnotist because you can do that thing of seeing the world through somebody else's eyes, so you know what they need. One of the things that I really think is a skill set that everybody should have. Erica and I, my knees are healing. I had PRP done on them about a month ago, and so I'm finally able to move around a little bit. And they're not quite 100% yet. This week, I made the commitment to start walking, and I made the commitment that we would walk a little bit further each time we walked. And so we were out walking this morning, and Erica always ribs me. She says, "Everybody remembers you." And I said, "You know why they remember me? They remember me because I remember them. They remember me
Mm.
because they just went on a 5-6 mile walk, and maybe 2 or 3 people said hello to them, except those people usually looked down or said it in passing real quick. I looked them square in the eye, and I said hello, not just as a, hey, hello, as a bypass. I said hello to their soul. And I
Yeah.
said, there are times there's a homeless man, or at least he looks homeless, that all week long has been standing when we walk in the exact same place every day. I doubt that he, sleeps on that place, but he stands on that place when we walk past there. And the first day we walked past, I had a fresh water and I offered it to him. It was unopened. I said, "Would you like water?" He didn't accept it. The second day we walked by, he kind of like acknowledged that he recognized that that was us. And then today when we walked by for the first time, he smiled and waved as we walked by. And again, we don't know what kind of impact we'll have on people's lives. You don't know what impact you've had on my life. You don't know that as much as you needed me at that event, I needed you. And I was impressed by the fact that you were 14 years old and you were out, looking for something. You were there with your mom. You didn't complain. You sat through the whole event, even though you didn't know what it was. And again, you always ask, you tell the audience, you joke about it when we're teaching together. If you look up tenacity or persistence in the dictionary, you'll see a picture of Mashall there. And I would say that, yeah, that might have been my picture, but I certainly think that you've replaced the picture. I certainly think that is that tenacity, and that just stick to itiveness is something that you're amazing at. What do you think is the biggest challenge human beings have? Because you're a master hypnotist. What do you think human beings have the biggest challenge in taking something they know is bad for them? I quit drinking alcohol last July 12th. You and I have shared many margaritas and many glasses of wine in our lifetime. In fact, I probably started sharing margaritas with you before you ever had a margarita.
Yes. I
I
remember you
stopped because
carrying
my
me
brain.
home.
Yes, I'm sure I did carry you home from the strip club, but we don't talk about that. The uh, the other side of the coin, though, is, by the way, maybe I was joking, maybe I wasn't. You'll have to decide. The uh, the other side of that coin, though, is that the challenge for people is I have always known alcohol was a poison. It's not. I don't have any judgment about it. I enjoyed my margaritas. I enjoyed my wine. I have no regrets. But we have things in our lives that we know don't work for us, and yet we still keep doing them. When I
Yeah.
stopped drinking alcohol, I started consuming massive amounts of sugar. And finally, at one point, I had to say, you know what? You've replaced it with sugar, dude. You got to stop this. And so I knew, but it took me a couple of weeks before I said, okay, I'm going to give up my cake and ice cream now. What do you think is the reason people don't make the changes they know they need to make?
Yeah. Well, it makes me think of two things. One is alignment, like the way that they see themselves, the benefits of what's wrong versus what's right is still in alignment. They're still getting something. In hypnosis, we talk about it as a secondary gain. There's a reason, there's a benefit to maybe drinking. If I'm drinking, then I'm not responsible. If I'm drinking, then um then I'll have more friends, or there's something there. And when I first went to your event, I was a depressed kid, and so the world aligned with a depressed kid. But then something shifted, and I said I want to be someone of significance and then the world started to shift into significance. So alignments, getting alignment with who you want to be, the habits, identity, and the world starts with who are you. And just to uh, add to that story, I went from that depressed kid who felt invisible. Well, being the invisible kid, I went back to school and I could see all the other invisible kids, right? And then as I sold them, as I sold myself on me, I sold them on them. And then all of a sudden that was the beginning of, oh, now I'm gaining significance, right? I would go to the turning point one week, and then the very next week have 6 of my friends in the basement teaching them, what I learned. And I hear people all the time say, I want to be like Mashall. And I'm keep thinking, what are you waiting for? Just do it. It's like they're waiting for permission. Like, become it, be it. If you want to be that, the millionaire with particular habits, be that person. It starts with just becoming that person.
We haven't talked a lot about it, and everybody has a different perspective. Can you tell the audience what your view of what hypnosis is?
So, hypnosis is communicating to yourself. It is the acceptance. It's the beliefs of who you are, the thoughts in your head. And I think a lot of people don't have incongruent thoughts. They have thoughts that are out of alignment. On one side, they want to become a multimillionaire. On the other side, I'm not worthy. And those two thoughts collide with each other and they don't work out, right? They think that, I want to go help the world, but then maybe they did something in their past they feel shame around, and they feel they must be punished. And then there's that stop. And so what hypnosis does is it's learning on a subconscious level. Hypnosis, I like to say a subject in hypnosis is a student. The hypnotist is a teacher, and the process is learning, And so when people say, I don't know if I believe in hypnosis, it's kind of like, you don't believe in learning? If a person can learn, they can learn on a conscious level. They can learn on a subconscious level. So it's just learning on a subconscious level.
I get asked this a lot as a hypnotist. People say, what's the most crazy thing that's ever happened for you as a hypnotist? And I have, as you know, because you worked with my show in Vegas for a number of years, and you've seen some of the crazy stuff. I've got my own stories. What are the craziest things that have happened to you, either in a hypnotic show or
I'll tell you, the hypnotherapy gets really deep.
So give me an example. Let's trade some more stories.
Yeah, this is what I think is. I think this is where my gifts are, where I'm really special at handling the crazy, crazy trauma, right? So there was a student that came to the next level. 5 days, in 3 days, the first 3 days, she was in a wheelchair. And I asked the husband and the son, what's the reason she's in a wheelchair? It goes, well, there's, they gave up some reason. I said, there's more to the story, and found out there was nothing physically wrong with her. She was catatonic, right? Meaning, she just didn't have control over her body to do that. And I did the hypnotherapy session. Come to find out, she was part of, her father was a cult leader. Right, a cult leader. And in the hypnosis, I'm talking to the father, and he's like, my daughter is an abomination and she's going to hell. Like, and I learned through you that there's no question love is not the answer to, right? So I got to go find the love.
Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got to go find the love, but I couldn't find it with the father. And the father's like, I talk to God. Who are you? Right. And so I went to the mother, and then the mother's like, okay, do you love your daughter? Yes, I love my daughter. Do you want her to go to hell? Oh, no, I don't want her to go to hell. Can you tell her I love her? No, because my husband talks to God, and if he says she's going to hell, she's going to hell. Well, okay, I can't, I couldn't fight the father in this case. And so I put a cone of light around her, and this was the light of truth. And just because of the twists and turns I've had previously, I had little bunny rabbits jumping in and out of it to test its validity and to prove to her the validity of this cone of light of truth. and the father was not able to walk through this, right?
Yep.
And her subconscious knows that he's not the truth. And in the middle of the session, I put my arm underneath her and I pick her up and I dance with her right in the middle of the session. So while I'm doing the affirmations and the programming, I'm doing a waltz with her, right? And it's like the only thing missing from this was like the cloud, the cloud for us to dance on, So that was dealing with a cult. A cult was a big hypnosis one. I just did another one where
So you didn't finish. You didn't put a cap on that story. When you were done dancing with her, did you set her back in the chair?
So after that, the last 2 days of the event, no wheelchair, and I followed her for up to 8 months.
Yeah, dude, that's a little bit humble. Yeah, I just healed this woman that had been in a wheelchair for years. I just healed her, and she waltzed with me. Oh, by the way, yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, and so for 8 months, like as far as I could track her, she never used her wheelchair again. Here's the thing: they say, there's a book called A Course in Miracles, and they define a miracle as a shift in perception. And the thing is, that's what we do with hypnosis. To me, we create miracles. Miracles is an everyday thing. Like miracles are easy to come by. We just shift a perception. We go from I cannot walk to I love to dance. We go from I'm poor to I'm abundant and prosperous. That shift in perception is you can change the entire world for one person's viewpoint just by shifting that mindset. I mean, hypnosis it's the bomb.
It's everything. It changed my life, as you know.
Yeah.
It changed my whole world. I was introduced to hypnosis in my high school when I was 16. And so I think maybe that was one of the other reasons I had an affection toward you and a real sensitivity and empathy toward you when you were at my event, is I knew, because I was you. As a kid, I wasn't especially suicidal most of my teen years, but there was a point when I was 17 before I made a full-time commitment to understanding my mind that I was suicidal. At 17 years old, it was just overwhelming. And so I have a real sensitivity when people are in their heads, and I know that all they got to do is get out of their head. Just get into their life, go serve somebody else, go take care of somebody else who's struggling, go for a walk at the very least, just get out of your head. And so, with me and the students and the people that I've worked with, I love to see them breaking free and opening up. Marianne Williamson, who wrote A Course in Miracles, of course, talks about just everything that has to do with accepting miracles, expecting miracles in your life. I was watching Young Sheldon the other day, and I'm sure you've watched it before. I guarantee. When I first came across the show, I said, "AJ's watched this, guaranteed."
Sure.
What I admired about the show, it's it's the early life of the main character in Big Bang Theory, and Parsons does the voiceover for it. What I'm impressed by is the young actor in Young Sheldon is Young Sheldon.
Yes.
He's great. The actor's amazing. But he quoted a philosopher, mathematician, and I mentioned this on the show yesterday. He quoted Blaise Pascal. And Blaise Pascal's quote to hyperquote it is basically, there's no downside in believing in God. And, I check my thoughts all the time, and I ask myself that pretty consistent question: does this belief serve me? So I really just stopped actively eating sugar this week. And nighttime is when I usually, in the past, would have my treats, my ice cream or my cake or my crumble cookie. And this past week, I just said, no, I'm going to see how my body responds not having sugar. And I feel the triggers go off. But also this morning when I got up and I went for my walk, I felt great thinking, gee, sure glad I didn't have sugar last night. And I'm thinking that a lot of our habits, our bad habits, are like that. If somebody doesn't want to drink, they don't ever wake up and say, gosh, sure wish I had drank last night. There's plenty of days, though, where they woke up and said, sure glad I didn't. Do you think any real power inside of our brain can instantaneously change the outside world and how the world responds to us?
It does. I mean, everything shifts, right? Everything starts with a first step, right? And that thought, boom, twinkling of an eye, that shifts already starts to happen, right? I do believe it does take some additional support, right? Because there's programming, there's our internal programming, and there's a programming of the world. When someone goes to one of our seminars, like they're instantly changed, like they are changed. Yet they get home and the world starts to tell them something different. They start to go to the back, what they used to be. And so that's where that shift, for that long-term shift, they have to have the support things. And that's why we don't just teach people or tell people, we train them to think differently, like how to, when you go home, right? Friends, family, they may say this, but this is how we talk to yourself, right? This is how you talk to yourself and how you maintain that, until it becomes a habit. So yeah, there's an instant change, and there's a need for support to that. I look at like discipline, it's like a discipline muscle. And some people, it takes a long time for them to create their first change. But as they keep creating change in their life, it gets easier and easier and easier, right? And pretty soon, you've gone to a bunch of events, you've changed a bunch of habits. Now that you want to change a habit, you've got such a strong, change muscle. Boom, I want this, and you just are it in that twinkling of an eye, that thought.
What have you done? Obviously, you've had multiple multi-million dollar years. You have two amazing kids, twins that I've watched from babies grow up. I was the best man at your wedding. It's the only time anybody's ever asked me to be their best man, so I was honored to be there. Tell me, some of the things hypnosis has done for you personally.
I am still constantly learning and growing. I mean, I'll tell you, 38 years, and I am still using the hypnosis to grow to the next level, to the next level, to the next level. Currently I am some of the things that more fun for guitar, right? I'm taking on a guitar, taking on riding an electric unicycle. At the same time, there's confidence at 20, confidence at 30, confidence today. It's one of those things that it means something different now. And so sometimes I have to revisit that. Or maybe I'm entering into a new marketplace, a place that I'm not familiar with. I'm always stretching to do something that find what's uncomfortable and then learn to make it comfortable. If we could just learn the skill to be comfortable being uncomfortable, then I think we would grow a lot. And when I talk to students and stuff, one of the things I talk about is the things that we do easily, right? The things that are easy to us is where we should focus on our strength, and that's probably where we're going to make the most money and have the best contribution to the world, with the things that come easy to us. We do the things that are difficult and uncomfortable in order to grow, right? And so I'm constantly growing. Right now, I'm shifting my diet as well, just to see what and learn. I'm going carnivore for a while, and seeing how that fits me. I have shifted. I've done liquid diets for a couple of months. I've done organic vegan, for a couple of, for 8 months.
So sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, every single one of them made me feel fantastic, right? And it was more about changing the habits, right? It was more about, how do I change the habits? How do I get out of that? How do I make it what I want? Recently I went to a gym, and they always put you with a trainer, and the first thing the trainer says is, "What are your goals?" And I said, to come here. And the reason why I said that was, for other people, there's the start and stop, start and stop, start and stop. I said, I want to make the gym the place that I want to go at 1 o'clock instead of take a nap, right? How do my first goal before all the physical this is, I got to love this. I want to love this. And that was my goal. And so I made sure I got one with classes. I made sure that I introduced myself to the instructors. I want someone to see that I'm not there, right? And I just look to kind of take all the obstacles, all the reasons not to do that, and then super empower it with the hypnosis and develop new habits.
I wholeheartedly support and agree, of course, with the idea of figuring out how do you live your life naturally, meaning
Mhm.
no motivation,
Yeah.
because I don't think willpower, I don't even think motivation, frankly, exists. I think we have reasons. Some people call that motivation. I don't know that it is. Uh, though I do know what I like and what I don't like. So, if I have two things in front of me that I get to choose to eat, I know which one I like better. And so I believe the best possible structure for our lives is figuring out how do we live our life in such a way that living it naturally produces a result. You and I, we
Exactly.
love being on stage. We love teaching people. I don't know if you still have this love. I still love performing and entertaining. In
Mhm.
fact, right now, because I'm not doing much of it, miss it and cannot wait to have our theater in place that I can perform at least a couple nights a week because I love that. It's my DNA. It's been with me an entire life, just kind of like you. But the whole idea of living your life in a way that is natural, that produces the result that you want to produce, doesn't mean that you shouldn't do things that are outside the comfort zone. So Erica and Sterling are taking a real estate investment training program with Andrew Schlegel, one of our members, students, and they're loving it. And
Mhm.
Erica's already started doing some cold calls to find out if she can get some deals done. And Sterling's been stellar about finding leads, but he hasn't called anybody yet. And when Erica asked him, "Why haven't you called anybody?" He said, "I don't want them to talk to a kid." Well, Sterling, and if you've heard his voice, it's about 10 octaves deeper than the last time you heard it. So it's right there with mine. Sometimes he'll be in the other room talking, and I'll leap out of my chair because I'm trying to figure out who's this man that got into my house. And so he was worried that people would perceive him as a kid. And first and foremost, by the voice, nobody ever would. But that's not what I know is going on in his head. And he's the producer of the show, so I know he's listening to me right now. He better be. Um, what's going on in his head is he's not made cold calls before, and until you do something, you don't know.
Yeah.
You handle firearms, and you've made it a part of your life that you enjoy
Yes.
shooting. You enjoy handling firearms. I don't have any fear of guns. I have an extremely healthy level of respect for guns, and I own guns for protection. At the same time, though, because I know I don't have a lot of experience with guns, and guns are guns, and not necessarily somebody hanging up when I'm calling them to find out if they want to own or finance a property, I realize that you do have to weigh the consequences. And I think that part of the challenge for people is they make unimportant consequences important.
Hmm.
They make other people approving of them
Yeah.
important. They make even having money important. And again, while money cures most things, money's not going to make you happy. So if you can't figure out how to be happy when you're broke, you won't be able to figure out how to be happy when you have money. In fact, maybe just the opposite. It might make it worse for you because I know I'm living experience of that.
Well,
So
we talked about production quotas versus action quotas, right? And so, the goal for me has always been growth, right? And so we take the action, and sometimes we get the result we're looking for. Sometimes we grow. Either one is great. It's just that constant action, you know, and focusing on that really made a big difference.
what are you afraid of?
I thought about this. When I think about the seminars that I do and the impact and the content, um, the idea that it doesn't exist in the world kills me. I can't stand the idea that when I stop teaching, it just doesn't exist. And I don't like that at all. And so I need to pass that on. I want to, continue to grow. I want others to grow. It needs to exist in the world. And yeah.
I was in the sauna the other day and I was meditating. And one of the things that occurred to me is what does 21, 24 look like?
Mhm.
And does anybody remember my name at all? Does anybody remember anything? And surely there might be stories passed down inside of my family, but my great grandkids at the least, my grandkids probably will know me, but my great grandkids, I'll probably, because I started late, not see great grandkids. And so I'll only be a story from my grandkids or my kids or my wife to our great grandkids. And I went a little further and I thought, well, what about the outside world that has no real reason to remember you?
Mhm.
Will they remember you? And so for me at this point in my life, everything I'm thinking about, is how will this impact Erica and the kids and future generations of Marshall Silver? The other thing though is what's the legacy now? Is there anything that would make significant impact on the world when I'm dead? And I don't even care if they remember who made the impact. I just want the impact. I just
Yeah.
want some invention, something I did, some truth that I told. What do you want your legacy to be?
You know, 4 years ago, my father passed away. And so,
And what a
boy,
great
that
guy he
just,
was. What a super achiever your dad was.
yeah, he was the fastest runner in Mindanao in the Philippines, ran in the Asian Games, with a champion, and definitely also kind of passed a mindset. And with his passing, legacy is a big thing. One is I'm fortunate. I'm being passed down a legacy as well. But then I need to say, well, what is it about me? What am I going to do with this legacy, and how am I going to add value to it? And so right now I'm an owner of Ava Valley Academy in the Philippines. It's a school. It's got 800 students, um, grades K through 12, and I have a responsibility to them that I've chosen to take on. When my father passed, I had no interest in that school whatsoever. My father said, "You want to be dean of a school?" And I said, "Have you seen my report card? Heck no, I don't have any business owning a school." Um, well, at the funeral, the students, there were two on the program and four spoke. Actually, six spoke, and they were telling because they just took the microphone, even if they weren't part of the program, because they said, "I'm going to say something," and they told stories. And when I heard those stories, I said, "Those are my dad's words." Like, oh, this school isn't just a school my dad owned. This school is a spirit of my dad. This is my dad, right? And so at that point, it was like, okay, I have this connection. And it seemed like the school was going to be in trouble without my dad's leadership. And so it was kind of like the reluctant prince who didn't want to be king, was faced to either lose the entire kingdom or step up. And so at that point, I started to step up. I lawyered up. I looked at the law, and we talked about it with like the director of the school. And at first, the director was looking at my mom saying, "Do you really want this? Do you really want your son to take over this?" And my mom said, "Well, I guess if she wants to, whatever they want to do." And I was like surprised. My sister was surprised, like, "Mom, didn't you realize if AJ doesn't take care of the school, then we might lose the school?" And she said something incredible. She said, "Yeah, and I don't want my son to do anything because he feels obligated." Right? That was very loving. In the midst of losing a kingdom, she chose the happiness for her son. But at that point, I realized, oh, I can't just accept the role of king. I have to actually become a king. I actually have to step up and think bigger. I need to think, what's the future of the school? How can, what makes it, what's a number one school? How do you even define that? What does that even mean? And take that on. My father was an inspirational figurehead. That's the one thing I knew I wanted to do for sure. Have them have belief, learn the mindset of that they can become, whatever they want to be. They can be champions, and take on that mindset. And now I am learning so many new things I had no idea about running a school. And it's no longer like something I took on. It's mine. It's mine. It's my legacy. It's my growth. It's outside of my family, it's the most important thing to me right now.
So, on that note, please tell us about King Cato.
King Kato. So it started off with the name Kato. Well, I used to play airsoft, and that was my call sign. Kato was the sidekick to the Green Hornet in the old television show played by Bruce Lee. And, he was a chauffeur. He was the bodyguard to the superhero. So he didn't, he wasn't the spotlight. He wasn't the big superhero, but when the superhero got in trouble, he came in, kick everyone's butt, Bruce Lee, right? And says, "You okay?" So he was a superhero, right? And there's one thing about me, there's a lot of times where I'm pretty modest, and yet that's how I see myself. I'm the superhero. I often may not always take the spotlight, but if you do, and if you want to take that spotlight, there's no one better to be by your side than Kato. And so Kato was that servant, the superhero. He built people up and training other hypnotists, other speakers, other trainers, writing programs for them. That is how I'm Kato. Now, King is, the only reason why I can say King is because I see my father as a king. And him being king means I'm now king, right? And so it's king servant. And I'm good with that phrase. It's a person who, as owner of the school, I'm in a position to change people's lives. How do they want their lives changed, right? And then I can make that happen. And so King Kato, when others call me that, I feel that they are supporting me in being the best version of myself.
I like names, as you know. My birth name was Silvestrak. My father's birth name was Silvestrowski, and then I shortened it to Silver. Fairly certain Sterling's going to shorten it to S. And I really believe that people should choose their moniker. You just said something. When someone calls me King Kato, I just feel remarkable. And Erica was talking to me and the whole family the other day at dinner, and she said, when you say "I love you, Mom," or when Daddy says "I love you, Erica," it means more to me than if they just say "I love you."
Mhm.
And I get it, because I get names, and I get that is what makes people. We have this emotional pull on our name, that when our name is important to. When we just went for our walk this morning, and somebody walked by and said, "Hey, Marshall." Well, Erica's the gorgeous one. He said, "That's the one I'd be looking at," except he knew my name and he called me by name, and it made me feel special, because it's our name, it's our identity, it's intimate. People that know our name, we're intimate with. And so people that we allow our name. I also think that there's a lot of people like the Madonnas of the world, or Eminem, or any of these people. It's very obviously common for entertainers to change their name, and nobody has any kind of a challenge with it. And I don't think people realize that if you have a name. I have some friends, and I love these folks. Their last name is Dick. Now, if my last name was Dick, I would change it. I would, or I changed my first name to Hard. That's what I would do. But their last name is Dick, and so when we go to restaurants, they love it, because Dick party of five, Dick party of five, and they just wait for the hostess to announce it, because they think it's so damn funny. That's different. If my name were Richard, I wouldn't go by Dick. I would go by Rich. Again, we've got to stop and say, what do we want our identity to be? Because we get to choose that. And that's one of the things I love about King Kato, is you've decided the prince has ascended.
Yes.
I'm stepping into this role. It's who I am now.
Yeah.
And you don't make apologies. If you're going to step into a zone, don't make an apology. If you're a 13-year-old kid making a phone call on a piece of real estate, don't apologize for being 13. In fact, just the opposite. I guarantee you, if somebody actually knew that you were 13 making that phone call, I'd be impressed.
Mhm.
I'd actually give you more time and more understanding than I would somebody else.
Absolutely. Meeting you at 14, right? And doing all that I've done by 17, 18, I know what it's like at that age. And I remember going into your office for my first one-on-one with you. And I believe what you did was you took everything that I might think as a disadvantage to me, and you told me it was my advantage, right?
Mhm.
And I'll tell you, Sterling, youth is your advantage. People will they'll trust you more, right? They're more interested in what you have to say more. They'll support you just because they want to support you more. They want you to win. And so, that youth is a great thing. Use it to your advantage. It's not that they don't want to hear from you. They want to hear, what does a 13-year-old have to say? Wow, this is pretty impressive, right? And that's going to
Gosh,
work
I wish
for
my
you.
kid was doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. They will say that.
Yep.
I did my first seminar at 18 years old, teaching a real estate office, sales. It's like you're 18. What do you know about sales? What do you know about real estate? What do you know about life? And at that point, it was, well, I've learned from some amazing people, and the best way to find out is come to the event. And I had 30 people there. I put it together so fast. Normally you would sell the tickets and then do the event. Well, it was my first event. I didn't quite do that. And so I did the whole event and no one paid me yet. And so at the end of the event, I said, hey, the event was $100. If you've got that much value or more, then you can pay on your way out. My assistant will write your receipt. And 30 people, $3,000 for a one-day event. My first event at age 18. That was fantastic.
I love it. I love it. So where do you go from here?
I'm going to the Philippines. That's the biggest project. Just learning how fundraising, running on, doing things in that idea. It's building a board of trustees. There's a lot just around that. I am in a place now that I am doing lately. I've been doing a lot more private one-on-one hypnosis sessions and just finding rebirthing a new love for that. And that's been really great. Looking forward to the next level. So I'm just in a place of enjoying my skills right now.
We obviously, you and I have been teaching the next level together jointly for decades, about 3 decades now. And I don't think there's any bigger breakthrough event I've ever seen. And I've personally done a lot of training. I know what other trainings do. Just the way that next level is structured, it takes people through everything we need them to go through as a part of life so that when they get done, the idea behind it, for me at least, is that life is a seminar. And if your life is a seminar, all you got to do is keep figuring it out. What in this exercise called my life is the best possible strategy for me to win at the highest possible level. And I don't think most people look at that often enough. So many times people would rather be right than happy or right than rich. And I always ask, is this really what the game is? As you know, you and I have played chess on the private jet on numerous occasions. One of the greatest things you can do in chess is remember what the outcome is. The outcome is to get the other person in checkmate. The outcome isn't to protect your queen or your pawn or any other piece or have the most pieces when the game is over. The whole outcome of the game is to put the other person in checkmate. So sometimes what you can do is play on people's greed. And I'll
Yeah.
often play on people's greed, knowing taking my queen is almost irresistible. That if my queen's in harm's way, everything almost goes out the door and they take the queen. And if my next move can be a checkmate after they take the queen, I won the game. Most people lose sight of what their outcome is. Some people, their outcome is to make massive amounts of money. That's all well and good. It's just not sustainable. If your outcome is to serve a massive amount of people who just happen to also want to pay you money joyfully, then yeah, you can become rich. I realized I changed my outcomes on my marriage and my relationships and got everything I wanted. One of my previous outcomes was a woman needed to fit a very specific physiological makeup. They had to be blonde hair, blue eyes, 6 foot, not 6 foot, 5'9", big, huge blue eyes. And that was always my model. And so obviously my wife is half Filipina. And I had never dated a Filipino woman for subconscious reasons ever in my life before I dated Erica. Come to find out, she's the perfect wife for me. In
Mhm.
fact, before we wrap this up, I gotta do this. At breakfast today, and I don't know whether it was subconsciously I was thinking about you or not. We were talking about the fact that we want to go to Poland and the Philippines within the next 12 months, just to visit my kids' heritage and to visit my
Yeah.
heritage. When's the best time of the year to go to the Philippines?
Um, Not during our spring. That would be the rain time. The fall. Yeah, the fall is a
December?
good time. Yeah. Oh, December would be great. Oh my gosh,
Eh,
December in the Philippines is very different. You'll have a whole different relationship with the concept of Christmas. There, it's Christmas reborn.
Well, they don't do any celebration halfway, that is for sure.
Oh no, it's like a whole month of festivals.
Yeah, it's genetic. It's got to be genetic. Erica has every reason to celebrate anything we can with a costume, by the way, dressing up.
I would see you wearing costumes, and then Erica comes by. The first costume you had was a T-shirt that said, "This is my costume," because I know you. You didn't want to do that. Then totally see when the kids got there, and then you got into it. That was so entertaining for
I'm
me to
guilty,
see.
man. But love my family. Love my
Yeah,
family. So again, you obviously you're running a school in the Philippines. You're coaching and speaking and training. We've got
and
the event coming up
expanding
first week.
the expanding the kingdom of hypnosis as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Hey, how do people get a hold of you to find out more information?
Just on Facebook, or the website ajpuedan.com. So ajpuedan.com will kind of get you in touch with me, tell you all the things I'm up to, or
Any
find me
last,
on social medias.
and then also your website, Warrior
Well,
20
20.com. Yeah. Warrior
20.com.
2.0. Yeah. Warrior20.com.
Awesome. Any last thing you want to say before we wrap up?
I love you, man. I love
I
you.
love you
And
too.
thank you.
Yeah, I'm very grateful for you. You have been a massive blessing in my life. And I think about two people other than, my mentor, two of my friendly relationships that have impacted me the most. One most completely and totally Erica, and you're probably the second one, not just
Mhm.
because of the amount of time, but just because of the dynamic of our relationship. So I love you. I am grateful for you, and I'm looking forward to doing next level in November with you and looking forward to seeing you before that as well. Tell your beautiful bride and your kids, Uncle Marshall said hello and that they're loved.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Take care. What fun. Whose life are you impacting today? Whose life do you matter to more than you realize? You don't know. And a simple smile to somebody else might be the only smile they got today. Your hey, how you doing? What an amazing dress, or you look awesome, might be really great. The man we walked by this morning on our walk looked to be Mexican, looked to be certainly some Latin culture, and didn't speak much and looked massively distressed, just looked distressed, looked homeless, had a couple backpacks by his feet. And, again, with everything going on in the world, sometimes people ask me, what do you think? I'm against illegal immigration. I'm all for letting more people in if they're all vetted. And I get that. I understand coming from a third world country or a place less desirable than the US, it might be awesome to come to the US. I also have a lot, including my father, a lot of immigrant friends who come into the United States legally. And I think about even my friends that come to the country legally that might be other ethnicities, that what people are up against in general, what humans are up against. What am I up against with a white guy with a shaved head? And so you don't know what somebody else is going through. You don't know what they're dealing with. You don't know what challenges they're handling today. Maybe their marriage is struggling. Maybe their health is not good. Maybe their finances are really, really bad and they're hiding it, just attempting to hold it together long enough to get through this tough time. So be compassionate today. Be considerate today. Be the person that everybody remembers your name because you took a little more time to just be kind. I love you because you're a human being and you're worthy of love. You deserve to have an amazing day. Today, look for miracles, be of good grace, give people grace. Also, though, be very certain about what your outcome is and celebrate life. I'm Marshall Sylver. I'll see you on Monday. Hey there, moguls. It's me, Mashall Sylver, your personal millionaire maker. Getting very excited about my brand new show coming up 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm going to broadcast live to you. I'm going to give you content, information, emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual power. I'll also invite some of my cool multi-millionaire and billionaire friends onto the show to give you more direction, more advice for having it all. All the knowledge to get everything you want and so much more. All you got to do is log in to the show to get information coming to you live from the bunker right here at Studio Money. So stay tuned.